So I am about to get started. What's up, everybody? I am your girl, Fire Ash, and today we are having a bit of story time. And there's just so much that has been happening. And so I just feel like it's time for me to be able to share just the things that God has been sharing with me and all the things. So, oh my goodness. So I just finished doing this episode with one of my new friends, right? And actually, I'm gonna retype that. I just finished doing this episode with one of my friends, and something we were talking about was so interesting to me. We were talking about grief, and I think it was so interesting how God was revealing to me like the beautiful things that we can experience that comes from grief, right? And so it took me into this journey where I started thinking about how I've experienced grief when it comes to like losing relationships or even in my singleness. Something that I think we don't often talk about is the grief that you experience with relationships that, let me rephrase that, the grief you experience with people that are still alive, but maybe the relationship has died, or maybe the relationship has stopped, maybe the friendship ended. What do you do when you literally are, the person is still alive and you're grieving the situation that you once had? So recently I was just like, reflecting and thinking about the past and just thinking about like my experiences. And I remember just the different situations I had with some friends who we may not be friends any longer, and yet there's still like this grieving that I had experienced. Like I had a best friend who I had two two best friends who I was best friends with for over 10 plus years. And honestly, just like with life happening and things taking place, like we all like grew apart. And I think that there was this part of me that's like, dang, like I miss the old days. I miss how things used to be. I miss. And so, sometimes we get to reminiscing and we begin to miss things of the past. And in some cases that could be good, but I think today God was showing me why we need to move forward and stop reminiscing the past, right? And I want to explain where I'm going with this. So I've been studying in the Old Testament lately, and I've just been thinking on how before the children of Israel could go into the promised land, there were a lot of people from the original generation who escaped from Egypt who reminisce and they were romanticize what it was like to be in Egypt. And I think that oftentimes we romanticize the very places that God has delivered us from, and we begin to see it differently once we're out of it. A good example is as soon as they got out of the land and they were free, they had this sense of like rejoicing. They were like, oh my goodness, we're finally free. Like, thank you, God. Like, you saved us. You love us. You saved us from Pharaoh and all of this good jazz. But then it wasn't until they started getting into the wilderness where they started to resent being free. And then at the same time, they had the nerve to start saying, God, why did you take us from the land flowing with milk and honey? Why did you take us from the place that you once delivered us from, right? It's so dangerous to romanticize the past because you can start looking at the past as if it was so great when you were experiencing it. It wasn't as great in those moments. When you finally got free, it wasn't as great when you finally started to have the scales and the veils removed. And so the Lord was showing me that oftentimes we can romanticize what he has delivered us from, and we can start to think that the place he has us in doesn't compare to where he's brought us from, right? And I think that we have to begin to ask the Lord to help us with our eyesight, because you could be misseeing and misinterpreting the place you're in. The children of Israel, they were literally in the wilderness on their way to the promise, but because the promise was uncomfortable, because the promise didn't look like what they thought it was going to look like initially, because it didn't look like the journey to the promise didn't look like what they expected, they wanted to pull out and go back to the land that God had just brought them from. They forgot about the time when they were in Egypt and they were slaves. They forgot about the times where they didn't have freedom. They forgot about the times in the past, but they started romanticizing it once they got into something that was more uncomfortable. You see, a part of us moving into promise, or a part of us moving and being in purpose, is there will be moments where you'll be uncomfortable. There will be moments where you will be challenged to be uncomfortable. And usually, when we're uncomfortable and God is using that moment to grow us, we begin to question if this is God or if this is punishment. A lot of us question when God is doing something new for us or through us or to us, we question it and we begin to think that because it's new and unfamiliar, that maybe this is not for me. What if God is using the very unfamiliar spaces to help bring you into the place he was calling you to in the first place? It's when we begin to mislook or misinterpret where we are that we begin to enter into dangerous territory. If I were to look at my wilderness season as if God forgot me or as if I should go back to where I was, if I were to look at it in the wrong way, I would miss what God was doing in it. So just being transparent, because I love being honest, I had a situation last year. It was around January. I got something on my lip. It was around January, from January until like Marchish. I remember I was in like this horrible space. I was going through. Why? Because I had recently quit my job a few months prior, and my savings ran out. I didn't My bills were starting to stack up. It was just so much happening, right? And I wasn't as busy as I used to be. Now, coming from a person who was used to being like literally booked and busy, and then I had a season where nothing was happening, it felt like what's going on? Like, God, did I quit my job off of just excitement, or did you tell me to quit my job? So anyway, I'm moving forward and I'm just like not having a good time. And no one is reaching out. I'm not really having any clientele booking or anything. And so I'm starting to question, like, wait a minute, did I make the wrong decision? And in reality, when I was at the job, the last few months of the job, I was depressed, right? But I'm forgetting the fact that I was depressed months ago because because I'm not enjoying the place I'm in right now. What the comment said? You said the honeymoon phase wore off. Yeah, the honeymoon phase wore off. Like it's crazy because you begin to walk into this good old promise, and the part of the journey isn't always as beautiful as we originally thought. Just like when you losing weight. When you losing weight, you got to go to the gym, and being at the gym sometimes is extremely uncomfortable. Like, I got to do all this work just for me to get this fat off my body. Like, who signed up for this? This is ghetto. And so something God was showing me was in that time frame was I was like misinterpreting what was happening. I was in a wilderness season, but a part of me being in that wilderness season was God literally using that time to bring forth my intimacy. God was using that time to bring forth my dependency. God needed me to begin to depend on him more than I ever have. I had never been in a position my entire life where I had to solely focus on depending on God. I was so used to a check paying for everything that I thought the check was my God above the actual living Father. And so I'm in this situation and I'm like, yo, God, I might have misheard you. Like, hold on, what's going on? And while I'm in this, I would say, wilderness season, God was telling me to write. He had told me at the end of the year of 2024, he had told me, like, write this book, write this book. I couldn't escape it, write this book. And so I'm not realizing that at the time I'm writing this book, even though I was like disappointed with where I was, right? And so fast forward into March, I remember I got to this like really, 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 really down space where I was crying, man. I was crying every day. I just mentally, I wasn't good. It was a lot I was going through. I was suffering. Long suffering is what I was experiencing. So I'm going through and whatnot. And so I remember I had cried out one night. I went to weeping. I was pleading. It was so much happening. And as I was crying out, I remember telling God, like, I refuse to lose. I refuse to give up. This was the night I learned how to speak faith talk. And as I'm doing this, God told me, now that you've reached the ending of you, now you can watch me work, right? And so I then had to continue to trust him, even though the funds were still not funding. It was still a little crazy. But the point of me bringing that up is I began to question God in that time in my life because it didn't look like what I thought it would. Because I didn't have all of these clients coming in, trying to give me all this money. I started questioning it, but the whole time God was using that moment to get my attention and also to help me with the assignment. You see, we can miss the moment because we're miss. Oh, that's good, Holy Spirit. Sometimes you can miss a moment because you have misinterpretation of what it looks like, right? Shortly after that, I was able to actually publish a whole book because even in my wilderness, there was silence. I had no distractions. Where I would usually be distracted by having all of this work, I had no distractions, and so I was able to get the work done. And so the Lord was just showing me, like, that was just one specific example where He was showing me how unhealthy it is for us to romanticize the past. And so then another thing God started doing was He started having me like look at the past with a different lens. You see, I realized that when you are still operating from a place of trauma, all you see is what happened to you. You can't see what's happening for you. You can only see what happened to you, and you are only looking at life through the lens of this happened to me, right? In my journey of healing, I had to learn to stop looking at my experiences through a lens of trauma. Whew. I'm gonna say that again. In my journey, I had to learn to stop looking at things from a lens of trauma. If I'm being real and just super transparent, I I had this mindset that I never would have admitted it to you a few years ago, but I tell you now, I had this mindset where I had like a victim mentality where everybody was wrong. Like, you hurt me, you did this, it's all your fault. Off with his head. Take him out, Jesus. I used to be so mad. Like, why this person break my heart, Lord? It's their fault. Get him, get him, get him. But in reality, I never wanted to take accountability for my part in the scenario, right? And a lot of people wouldn't admit this to you, right? A lot of people would like for you to see them as this perfect person without flaws. But for me, it's like, no, when I tell you the truth, maybe we can grow from understanding what really was happening. And so the Lord was showing me, like, baby girl, you were not perfect. You was out here thinking you was an angel the whole time. Some of this was your fault. And I had to sit down and realize that even in the relationships that I was in, right, I chose to be in them. I think it's so selfish for us to be blaming these other people for what they've done, and yet you was in it, bruh. Like, you chose to be with them. The people you date are a reflection of your decisions. I'm gonna say that again for the people in the back. The people you date are a reflection of your decisions. Okay, you got to take some accountability. I can't speak for some of the stuff that happened in relationships, but I can speak for the fact that a lot of us do not want to take accountability for the fact that we chose them. You chose them. That was your decision. You were saying I love you to them. You were sleeping with them. This was your decision. You made it. What the old people say? You made the bed and I'm sleeping. I think that's what they say. You made this decision. You made this conscious choice. And so as a victim, when I was like being super in my victim bag, I would blame the other person for what they've done, but not realizing a lot of my insecurities was playing in some of their responses to me. Now, given, was I toxic? I hope not. I don't think so. Was I toxic? I don't think so. I was trying to be the best person I could be, but at the same time, I had to realize I wasn't perfect in the relationships. And instead of me trying to blame another person for why it didn't work out, maybe I could look at myself and take some responsibility for my part in the situation. So as I've been moving forward, as I've been healing, as I've been embracing my singleness, I've been learning to like re-look at things from a different scope. I had to go back and look at my experiences with men, and I had to go and start taking accountability. One of the hardest moments I had to experience was admitting that a part of the problem was me. Why? Because I was choosing the same kind of men. I would be so upset, like, God, why did I experience the same thing? It was kind of like copy and paste, like different body, same actions, different body, same distraction, different body, same disappointment, different body. man, it would be a different body, but I would have the same result. And at some point, you have to ask yourself, why do I keep landing in this same? What's the common denominator? What's the common denominator behind all of this? What's the same? And most times, the same thing is you. I'm not trying to hurt your feelings like I hurt my own, but most times, the same common denominator is you're making the same choices. So as I was looking and reflecting on my past and just thinking about like the different kind of like men that I entertained, the different kind of men that I dated, I realized like half this is my fault. Like, I mean, if we being real, majority of this is my fault because I chose ultimately to be with them. I chose to stay there. I chose to settle. And no offense to like my exes, if y'all listening, love y'all, even though we don't talk to each other. But the point is, I made the conscious decision. And I think that in order for us to heal, you have to recognize where you made certain choices that landed you in the situation. You know, the devil don't do everything. Sometimes it be you. It be you. And I'm gonna hurt your feelings like I had to hurt my own feelings. Sometimes it be us making these decisions. And like I said, just as I reflected, I realized like, yo, I played a part in this. I played a part in my own hurt. And so then God started showing me where my trauma was in my hurt, like where my trauma was in that journey. He started showing me like some of the insecurities that I never faced. They were actually hindering blocks in relationships. I think that one of the best things you can do when you're healing and even when you're single and you're trying to prepare to be in another relationship is you need to start unpacking you. Because let's say you're carrying a level of baggage with you into every relationship. Every relationship, you just pick up another bag. Every relationship, you just pick up another bag. And then now that you're in this new relationship, you're now dropping that same bag or the bags that you've picked up into this new relationship. And now the person on the opposite end got to pick up the bags with you. That's unfair and it's selfish. You need to drop them bags before you get into this relationship. I know they say, some people say 50-50 in marriage. Nah, I want to be 100-100. Let me be full, you be full, and let's be full together, okay? Unfortunately, because I was carrying the same baggage into relationships, I had the same expectations and I had the same hurt that I kept experiencing. One of the things that I was carrying was insecurity. It was low self-esteem, right? And so I would try to look to my partner at the time to build up that self-esteem. And don't judge me because I'm gonna tell the truth on myself. I would try to look to my partner to build up a self-esteem that was never meant for him to try to do. It was always on me. But I would be disappointed in him because he wouldn't tell me I look cute today, even though we both knew I look cute today. You know what I'm saying? I would put these unrealistic expectations on men because I had a lacking in myself. That's good, Holy Spirit. Sometimes we have a lacking in ourselves and then we try to put that lacking on somebody else to fulfill when it was never their job to fulfill. It was never their job to fulfill that. You need to be whole on your own. That is something you need to take before the Lord. And so before I even call myself trying to get into a relationship, I'm trying to do the work. I used to like I used to judge people that would be like, no, I don't want to be in a relationship right now because I'm trying to get my life together. I used to be like, well, can we get our life together? You know, why can't we like work on this together? But I realized like I actually respect a person that says I'm trying to put in the work to heal myself first. Cause I don't want nobody bleeding. Don't come to me bleeding because I don't want to come to you bleeding. Leave that baggage there. I need you to drop that baggage off. I'm like a new airport terminal. Come on, if you coming in, go ahead and drop the baggage. Go ahead and drop the baggage where you at. Don't bring it with you. I might have said that wrong, but you get the point. That's just something I was realizing that I kept bringing baggage with me to each relationship, and the baggage looked the same, and that's why the experiences were the same because I'm bringing the same baggage. It wasn't until God gave me a dream one time, right? Hurt my feelings. I mean, some of these dreams he be giving me hurt my feelings, but he gave me a dream. And within it, I had a daughter. If anybody knows me, I do not have children, like at all currently. TBD, you know, at some point I'm gonna get married and I'm gonna have some kids. But I don't have kids. So in the dream, I was like, okay, he tried to tell me something apparently. So I'm dreaming, and I remember in the dream I had a daughter, and she was live and everything. And God had told me, if your daughter were to mimic you in this moment, would you be pleased with her actions? And I was like, absolutely not, because she would be settling for less than what she deserved. And I would tell that little heifer, like, girl, baby girl, you could do better. And and God had told me that's exactly what you're doing. You're settling for less. And he asked me, would you be proud if your daughter made the same decisions as you? And I was like, no, I wouldn't. Actually, no, I wouldn't. And so when I woke up from that dream, I remember thinking, I have to make a change because it's not just about me. I had to think in the mindset. I mean, God knows that I want a kid. And so I think he needed me to think in the mindset of it's bigger than me. What if there was somebody I cared about reflecting the same patterns that I'm reflecting? Would I be happy with their behavior? Absolutely not. I will talk them down. I'd be like, oh, no, 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 no. We need to go ahead and scratch that because that ain't working. And so God began to call me up and he said, one of the things I needed to do was I needed to heal the little girl inside of me. Sometimes, actually, I want to rephrase that. There are many people walking around with grown bodies but unhealed childhoods. That's good. I'm gonna sit there for a second. There are many people walking around with grown bodies but unhealed childhoods. Their childhood trauma is still walking with them, and even though they have grown bodies, they still have childlike mentalities, and they're carrying the trauma of their youth, and now they're putting it on the next person. That's why there's a lot of people out here playing in the game of hurt people because they have not healed the hurt that they experienced. And what God was showing me was he needed me to begin to heal the little wounds that I had from childhood. That's where the insecurities were birthed. That's where the low self-esteem came. It all started and stemmed back there. And he told me, I need you to revisit the root and the cause of what led to this. Because when I give you a thing, I don't need you to mishandle it. Because you out here insecure with all this low self-esteem, I don't need you mishandling this gift I'm about to give to you. And so I had to start doing the inner work. I had to really start working on myself and diving deep. And I think one of the scariest things is to face the ugly truth. I had a friend who used to say, the truth is ugly. And, I actually agree with him because not all of us want to actually admit the truth because it don't always seem appealing. And so when I went on this journey to begin admitting the truth and experiencing what I thought was like the rawest parts of me, it made me aware of what I could actually start working on. I don't think that you can truly heal unless you start becoming aware of those things that you don't like about yourself. Unless you become aware of those things that hinder you, that trigger you. You have to become aware of those things because a part of awareness is being able to move on and grow from. If you never if you never allow yourself to be exposed to the truth, then you can never allow yourself to grow into something new. Man, I know when the Holy Spirit be talking because that is good. If you never allow yourself to be exposed to the truth, then you can never allow yourself to be exposed to something new. It was when I started exposing the truth about my flaws. It was in those moments that I began to start to love myself again and love myself in a way that God wanted me to love me. Because I'm his creation and he loved his creation so much that he died on the cross for me. And so, why would I not love the very thing that he died for me to feel loved? So now, as I'm embracing this single journey, one of the biggest things I've been trying to preach and teach to people is that singleness is not punishment, baby. Singleness is a gift. I even made a video earlier today where I was talking about how singleness, God is not punishing you. That man is preserving you, baby. The way I see it, he called me a diamond. Okay, I'm the apple of his eye. I just think about it back in the old days where people would where a guy would come to the house and he would ask the girl's dad like, hey, can I have permission to take your daughter out? And literally the dad could either approve or disapprove. And that's how I see myself. That's how you should see yourself. Like any person that's single, you need to see yourself as something worthy to be asked of. Oh, thank you, Jesus. That's good. You need to see yourself as a worthy to be asked about or asked for. The way I'm moving is, God, I need them to go ask you about me. Don't just step to me. Go ask God about me first. Because sometimes we try to connect ourselves with people and we ain't never asked God about them. And then we be wondering why it turned out the way it turned out. Because you ain't never seek his approval. You never asked him. You ain't asked him if that was good for you because they probably don't know how to take care of money and you trying to mix yourself with them and they finna bankrupt you. Was that me? No, but it could have been. But I'm realizing that we have to begin to, even in your singleness, you have to begin to ask God to not just heal those old wounds, but also to cleanse you so that he can restore the new features inside of you. I think of myself as a house. My house was dirty with all those insecurities, with all that low self-esteem. My house was so dirty. And so when I tried to invite a man into the room, he looking at this dirt. And on the outside, I'm looking pretty, but on the inside, I'm just dirty. And I'm bleeding because I have not healed. I have not allowed myself to actually get the work. And so as I've been moving forward in my life, as I've been experiencing this beautiful journey of singleness, I've been realizing like, man, God is he's so good because he allows you in your singleness to have the opportunity to work on those things without distractions. You can just work on it. It's a lot of people that honestly, try to rush to marriage, and I've been one of them. If I tell my secrets to you, I don't know, you might use them, you might tell somebody else, but I'm gonna tell you. I was on a podcast interview earlier today, and somebody had asked me. They had said, they asked me a question that made me talk about this time where I want to have a baby so bad. I don't know if people know this because I usually don't really share stuff, especially now on the internet, but I wanted to have a baby so bad. And the reason why I wanted to have a baby is because I remember there was a time where I had gotten pregnant years ago in college and I ended up having an abortion. It was so much happening that I didn't feel comfortable trying to bring a baby into the world. But I used to live in this fear that I would never be able to have kids, right? And so anyway, because I had this fear, because I had this trauma that I had picked up, because I had this fear in every relationship that I had entered in from that moment on, I was trying to rush to marriage. And, and I'm okay with telling the truth. I was trying to rush to marriage, and it wasn't necessarily so I could be married. It was so I could have a baby. It was so I could get right to the thing I actually wanted, the child. And so I lived in this space of fear where I was like, man, I made this decision, so now I'm never going to be able to get that chance again. So I'm carrying the baggage from one situation to the next situation to the next situation, and I'm blaming these men for being trash whole time. I'm trashly. Whole time I'm out here not even caring about these dudes because I'm just like, man, I'm trying to get a baby. You know what? This is so sad to admit, but I think it's two guys. Never. I actually it's one guy. No, it's two guys. It's two guys back in my past. I would say I probably owe them an apology because I genuinely don't know how much I cared about them. I wholeheartedly was trying to push them into marriage so I could go ahead and have this baby. And unfortunately, like I said, you got to tell the truth. Unfortunately, I was looking at their actions, and whole time I was missing the fact that I was not on point. And I thank God that he spared me and them because that probably could have got real reckless. But here we are. Thank you, Jesus. But the reason I mention that story is because I was trying to rush the process. And I think that a lot of people try to rush the process of being single and being into marriage, right? And I think we don't take into consideration all of the things that come and encompasses a marriage, right? All the things that encompasses covenant and partnership. I don't think we take the consideration all the things that come with it. And I think that's why I'm so happy I'm single now because God has just been showing me like, girl, there's so much more than what you think. I didn't even think about how your finances are going to be my finances. And if you got bad financial issues, then I don't know, we might not have the same bank. You might have to just stay on your bank. I stay on my bank. No, but in all seriousness, I started realizing like it's so many things that are encompassed in marriage. And I think another thing we fail to do is actually date. Like we need to date. We need to enjoy the dating process. Get to know that person. Get to know them. Because if you're partnering your life to be with them the rest of your life, you need to know who are you partnering with. That's why we see divorce because people didn't get to know who they was partnering themselves with. Or they ignored the red flags and they definitely did not ask God if They were supposed to be together. But I'm just a messenger. But I'm saying all this to say that I just realized, like within my own experience, my journey of healing, that some work needed to be done. And if I didn't do it, I would continue to bleed on people in relationships. And as I've been healing, I've been like truly appreciating, like, love God's way. I've been appreciating not settling. I've been appreciating enjoying this journey. I just been appreciating so much, because I remember in times where I used to be single and I used to be so sad, like, dang God, when is it gonna be my turn? But now it's like, dang God, I'm out here enjoying my life. Like, God, let me have as much fun as I can, because that comes with responsibility as well. Like, everything has some form of responsibility, and when you get married, that comes with a level of responsibility. You can't do the same things that you do when you're single, because in singleness we get to go do stuff. We ain't got to check in with nobody. We could just, I want to go there tomorrow. I'm out there. But you got to be considerate when you get into a relationship. And so I'm just realizing, like I said, there's so many things that come into consideration when it comes to like marriage, when it comes to even the dating. That's something I would challenge people to do. Like, not don't just date other people, date God, and date yourself. Date three people. Date God, so you can see what real love looks like. Date yourself, because you want to give yourself the love that you desire. And what I mean by that, because I believe it's possible, I've been doing it, is I started treating myself. Right? I started dating myself and giving myself the love that I desire. Like, I know I love words of affirmation. So guess who be out here feeding themselves words of affirmation? I do. I be loving on myself. I love you, Ashley. You are so amazing. You did such a great job today. Like, honey, you you so sweet, girl. Like, you be showing up, huh? The things that I desire, I don't have to wait on somebody to give it to me. I can give it to myself. Now, I mean, some of the stuff. But like, I do think it's important to date yourself. Like, get to know who you are, get to know your standards, get to know what it is that you like, you dislike, right? Because I think it would make it so much easier when you're dating and you like yourself and love yourself, that you won't be reaching for anything that can complete you or that can fulfill you, because you're already complete. You won't be reaching for crumbs that feed your insecurities. You'll be actually making decisions from a place that's whole. And that is where I am. I'm like, I'm dating myself, I'm loving myself, and I'm making decisions from a whole space, not from a half or from a lacking. It's like I don't even have to rush, because even when I had the mindset that I was, um, even when I had the mindset where I wasn't appreciating dating myself, it was like I was trying to rush everything to make everything happen, and I was moving before God in a lot of situations. And so now it's just like, nah, Playboy, I'm gonna go ahead and wait on Big G, because I trust that he has me, and I trust that as I go on this journey, that all of this journey is working towards something for his good. So anyway, I just want to get on here for just a little bit, and I'm honestly about to tap off for the evening. I have more work to do, but I just want to get on here and just share a little bit of wisdom and revelation and information that God has been showing me, as I've been on my healing journey. And I pray that as I've spoken, that in these words, if it hit you, or if you had anything that you related to, I pray that it encouraged you the way that it's been encouraging me. And if I had to leave you with any lasting thought, it would be do the work. Like, even if you're in a relationship, do the work. Do not try to allow somebody to make you whole. The only thing that can make you whole is Jesus Christ Himself. That's it. Do the work. Date yourself. Get to know who you are and what you are. We're always progressing, we're always growing. Get to know who you are and love who you are. So, anyway, y'all, that was all the tea I have for today. I just shared so much tea on me. But yeah, I'll be trying to live stream and talk to y'all a little bit more often. But with that being said, I love y'all, and I will talk to y'all soon. Podcast is coming soon. March 3rd, first episode is coming soon, and everything will be announced in the next week. So anyway, y'all, I love y'all. Hope y'all enjoyed this